Well, let me tell you something, brother.
Snort, snort, snort.
Kogan.
Drip. Snort, snort.
I got the drip. Go. Alrighty, so today is Friday, the 8th of December, 2023. I'm darksydephil. I welcome you here to the Level 1 podcast. And today, of course, will be a hefty show. Because today is the Game Awards decompression show. Now, as you know, I've told you guys this every single year. The Game Awards are not official. The Game Awards do not represent anything official whatsoever. Just because a game won or lost or ranked but didn't win at the Game Awards doesn't mean a game is good or bad. They have absolutely no bearing on anything. In fact, the Game Awards are actually voted on majority by journalists, and we all know that games journalists are actually not in line with what most gamers want. Therefore, we actually have absolutely nothing to talk about today. So that is it for the podcast, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Well, except that I say this every year and no one listens to me, and everyone still judges the Game Awards as if it has some true bearing on the goodness of games, and they actually will rank their games based on what the Game Awards said won or lost. So I end up having to talk about it every year regardless. I really wish that people would not give it as much weight or merit, because quite frankly, I feel like a lot of great games get overlooked and a lot of bad games get overhyped because the Game Awards are focused mostly on games journalism, which I completely disagree with. We've all been talking about how in the last 5+ years, there's been a big divide between common opinion of video games and what games journalists are saying about them. I mean, let's be honest, most average gamers probably play more games than game journalists these days. So how could they have a valid opinion more qualified than ours, right? Anyway, we're not here to discuss that. We're here to discuss the elephant in the room. Because, ladies and gentlemen, if you can believe it, the biggest surprise shocker ever just happened at the Game Awards 2023. Are you ready for this? This is what everyone wants me to talk about. This is the burning topic that must be addressed right now before we get to anything else. Game of the Year was not given to Starfield. And that is an absolute atrocity. We all know that Starfield was definitively, without a doubt, without any kind of criticism or commentary possible, it was the indisputable best game of 2023, hands down. How could anyone possibly say something differently? And the fact that it didn't win Game of the Year just proves that it was complete sham. This is just a bunch of people who are trying to push agendas. It's absolutely ridiculous, right? We all know there's an Xbox tax out there. No matter what, if a game's exclusive to Xbox and not on PlayStation, it'll never win at the Game Awards, and that's just a bunch of baloney. Of course, I'm being completely facetious with that. That's complete bullshit, right? What's funny to me, all right, this year, is that, and I said this earlier this year, and I'll reiterate, and I'm basically going to address what people want me to address, but it's not intelligent people who want me to address this, sadly. Basically, this year was a year when there were so many games that when they came out, everyone was just so sure that they were going to be Game of the Year this year. Are you ready to go through the list of games? You know, first we started off with Resident Evil 4 Remake. Oh my god, this game is so good. I can't believe that this game would not be Game of the Year. And then it was Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom. Wow, it blows away Breath of the Wild. It's so many innovations and so many new things. I can't believe this game wouldn't be Game of the Year. And then it was Final Fantasy 16. Oh my god, it's the best Final Fantasy ever. Amazing music, great visuals. It's a great story. I can't believe it. The best game of the year. And then Baldur's Gate 3 came out. Oh my god, it's the best RPG ever made. Fan service out the wazoo. They really put attention to detail. There's no way it can't be Game of the Year. And it just kept continuing all year, right? And the funny part was, every time that this happened, I called it out. And I was like, you guys realize, just go back, you'll hear me saying, you guys realize not every major RPG and or release this year can be Game of the Year. But that's how everyone is acting. There's all these different pocketed fan groups who are all acting like no matter what, their game is going to get Game of the Year. And at that point, when all this was happening, because I specifically remember there was a particular podcast where I addressed it, I said, you have to understand something. There's absolutely no way all these games can win Game of the Year. In fact, I would bet a lot of these wouldn't even get nominated. Now, in that regard, I guess I was wrong, because if you actually look at the games that got Game of the Year nominations, it's pretty much every game that had a major fan base, except for a couple, which we'll talk about in a second. Okay? So, when we got to that point, I basically made a statement, and I was like, listen, you guys got to understand something. At that point, Baldur's Gate 3 was only on PC. There actually hadn't even been an announcement of when it was coming to console yet. And everyone on PC loved it. But I said, you got to understand something. There's a couple factors here. Number one, if it's only a PC game, that's an isolated audience. If it's not mainstream available, there's going to be people who are not going to be able to play the game. That's going to be a hard sell for Game of the Year. You know, take a look at previous years, a game like Divinity 2, right? Which everyone absolutely praised and loved. But a lot of people never even talked about because it was PC only for the longest time until it finally got console ports, right? I mean, that's a sure case of that from the past. Now, in addition to that, at that time, because we're talking around the summertime, there were still big releases on the horizon, like Starfield and Spider-Man 2 and a few others that people were eyeballing, and particularly, it was actually Starfield that we were eyeballing at that time. And we were like, well, if this game absolutely lives up to all of the promises that are made about this game, okay, absolutely this game could be Game of the Year shoo-in, right? It's a make-or-break game for Bethesda. They've had a bunch of bad, disappointing outings right before this, correct? I mean, take a look at, they had Redfall, which was absolutely terrible under Arcane Studios. They had Fallout 76, which was an atrocity at launch, and to this day it has an online player base, but nowhere near what they were originally wanting for the game because it flopped at launch. Fallout 4 had a bunch of major criticisms, and the fact they just keep really re-releasing Skyrim and not putting out anything new, this was the big one that they were hinging everything on, and everyone was kind of, you know, once we saw that presentation, do you remember? Was it around Summer Games Fest, I want to say? They showed some stuff and people were like, all right, we're starting to feel more positive about this game, right? And basically, again, it was uncertain. But here's the thing. Starfield was going to be PC and Xbox, right? At launch. And with that media hype behind it and everything, you're like, wow. The common feeling was that it was kind of a wait and see. At that point, I told you, I thought for me all year, I was thinking Tears of the Kingdom, Baldur's Gate 3, or Starfield. At that point, that was my thoughts. Those are going to be the big three that'll likely be contention for Game of the Year. But knowing how journalists lean towards Nintendo, because I never thought that Breath of the Wild would have won, and it did, okay? And knowing how journalists go with height, and if Starfield was good, then he probably would have leaned right towards that. You know what I'm saying? I thought for sure those would have gotten favor, okay? But here's what happened. Let's be honest. Starfield's not very good, right? Starfield is a huge disappointment. I mean, I talked about it in the credits of the playthrough. I gave you my review of it. It's just incredibly underwhelming. Doesn't live up to any of the promises. Actually looks like more like a joke than anything else. Looks like a photocopy of previous games they've made. And how when you make a copy of a copy of a copy, it starts to lose its focus, its sharpness. It looks more blurry and fuzzy and shitty, and that's exactly what Starfield looks like. When you made the same game 10 times, the 10th iteration isn't as good as the first 3. Everyone wants to go back and play the 3 classics. I don't want to play the 10th clone, and that's exactly what Starfield feels like. It lost its unique identity along the way of being an awesome Bethesda RPG and just feels like, oh, paint by numbers, and that's bad. So, because of that, all right, that completely changed the landscape of what possibly would have been considered Game of the Year. Honestly, I was shocked when Alan Wake 2 got nominated for Game of the Year. Personally, I loved Alan Wake 2, and I was very happy to see it get all the recognition it did last night at the Game Awards. That was really nice to see that game that normally a game like that would have been overlooked, but it got tons of recognition. I was like, wow, I'm shocked it got as much as it did. But then when it got nominated, I was like, could it possibly win? I don't think so. I didn't ever really felt like it could. Spider-Man 2, I never thought was going to win, honestly. Like, I would have had my jaw dislocate and jump out of my skin and land on the floor if that won, because journalists just aren't about the superhero games. They're just not, you know. But once essentially Starfield sucked and was not even nominated for Game of the Year, yeah, I think that the top 2 games that it was between was Tears of the Kingdom and Baldur's Gate 3. And I said as much. But the funny part is, people out there who are morons like to take one moment in time and act like that moment in time is eternal, that nothing ever changes. If you take my quote from many months ago that said Baldur's Gate 3 is not going to win Game of the Year because it's PC-centric, and right now with everything else going on, those other games, like I even said, Starfield is a shoo-in for Game of the Year if it's as good as people are saying it's going to be. And what happened? Well, Baldur's Gate 3 released for console. People absolutely loved it on console, and it got more mainstream attention than it had before. Starfield came out and flopped. No one likes it. Only a very hardcore fan base of Bethesda and Xbox players are all over it. Everyone else is like, wow, what a disappointment. Didn't even get nominated for Game of the Year. So basically exactly the qualifying situation that I considered to happen, happened. And now Baldur's Gate 3 is kind of the, like I said, it was either between Baldur's Gate 3 or Zelda. I really was worried. Because you guys know me, I didn't love Zelda that much. I didn't. I thought that Zelda was a good game, but I didn't love it. And I disagreed with Breath of the Wild winning Game of the Year many years ago. And I was like, dude, if Zelda wins, this is going to be bullshit. Because there's so many better games this year better than Zelda. Thank God that didn't win, right? But that's absolutely what I said would happen, is now it would be between those 2 games. But no one will say that. No one will look at my opinions from like the last couple of weeks to months and take that as fact. They just want to go back 5-6 months before any of this information was available when I made a prediction back then, and say that was my prediction, it's wrong. Yes, my outdated prediction before Starfield came out, before Baldur's Gate 3 hit console, was wrong. You're right. Once more data was given, I changed my prediction. But why don't you talk about that? Because you're a bunch of fucking morons. And all you want to do is talk about Phil was wrong, Phil was wrong. Nobody cares. You're a bunch of losers. Onward. Okay? So, here's the deal. Today we're going to talk about the Game Awards a lot. Alright? What I'm going to do is briefly go through my schedule, but then we're going to talk about the Game Awards, and what we're going to do is we're going to approach this in an open format where you guys are going to be able to ask me questions. I'm just going to say, hey, what do you guys want to talk about? Ask me a question live on stream about the Game Awards and I'll answer it. What, you know, ask me about a certain game or a certain announcement and I'll talk about it. But you're saying, well, why aren't you going to do an in-depth recap? Because the Game Awards were 3.5 hours long, and that's too fucking long. That's longer than E3. That's longer than any press conference ever. The Game Awards are way too drawn out and sadly get super boring. The last hour of the Game Awards, it's hard to stay awake. It's just not entertaining anymore. It gets really too just stupid. And quite frankly, if you want my overall opinion on the Game Awards, I'll just tell you right now, they were incredibly underwhelming. There were far too few interesting announcements. There were too many indie games no one's going to fucking care about by seeing a little snippet about it at the Game Awards. It was a complete waste of everyone's time. They should have focused on big blockbuster announcements and games winning awards, and that was it. And then the show would have been 90 minutes. But instead, it was 3.5 hours, 2 hours of which were complete bloat, and it makes the show boring. It's basically, now it's the Oscars, and the Oscars suck too. So why emulate a show that everyone collectively agrees is not good? I don't know what Jeff is thinking. Like, the show should be much better than it is. And there were a few really awesome announcements. Like, probably the thing that resonates in my head was OD. The new game from Hideo Kojima. Looks like it's some kind of a hybrid horror movie game. Interesting, something unique. That stands out to me as something awesome, right? So if they had like 5 big announcements like that and then all the Game Awards, the show would have been great. But instead they have insane amounts of bloat and nonsense crammed in that makes it boring. I didn't like it overall. You know, here we are 3.5 hours at night and we're fast forwarding through shit. Like, I don't fucking care about the next bullshit generic shooter that looks exactly the same as 17 other shooters. Oh, look, another fantasy RTS. Fast forward. It's like, fuck this. They're all the same shit. I don't need to even see half these announcements. They're non-announcements. Yet they probably all paid to be there, which is sad because no one's gonna fucking end up getting any kind of notoriety because they were on those Game Awards like that. Anyway, so here's what we're gonna do. Let me briefly go through my schedule. Then I'm going to field questions about the Game Awards, and you guys will be able to ask me directly questions about it. Okay? And we'll see what you guys want to talk about today. Fair enough? About the Game Awards. I know that's just the hot topic for today. It's what everyone wants to talk about. So, then when we come back on Monday, and here's the big announcement, ladies and gentlemen. as a direct result of your request, as a direct result of the Game Awards, and as the direct result of the generosity of viewers, because I received a donation on Monday on the daytime stream, starting right then at 12:45 p.m. Pacific time, for the first time ever, right here, live on DSP Gaming, because you want it for all the months that you've asked for it and told me that I was wrong for skipping it. On Monday, we're starting Baldur's Gate 3. And let me tell you something. If this isn't the best RPG I've ever fucking played in my life, if it's overhyped, if it feels underwhelming, if it's a slow-paced piece of crap, I'm going to be pretty pissed off because you guys keep telling me it's the best RPG ever, and I'm so wrong for skipping it. If this game isn't great, I'm going to call you out. So you better be ready. But don't worry, I'm going to be fair. I'm not going to unfairly judge this game. I'm not. I'm going to be fair, and I'm going to be calm, and I'm going to judge it for itself fairly as we play it. But my God, you guys have ridiculously overhyped this game. And every time that I've asked the question, how is this game the best RPG, no one can answer. Well, it's got a great story. So do other RPGs. Oh, well, it's good combat. Other RPGs have great combat. Oh, the atmosphere, yeah. Oh, well, the devs listen to the fans. Other devs have listened to fans. Can you definitively explain to me what exactly it is in this game that makes it stands out? The bear sex scene. That's the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard. You're telling me the game is good because it has a bear sex scene. What are you, 5 years old? So, that's what I mean. Like, when everyone says it's the best, but no one can actually explain why. That makes me wonder about it. Okay? So, we're going to find out. Now, by the way, I want to remind you all of the reasons why I didn't play Baldur's Gate 3 this year. You ready? First of all, it was PC only. So, I couldn't play it at launch because it was PC only. By the time it came out on PlayStation, I was already in the midst of other fall playthroughs that were popular, and I didn't really have time to play a lengthy RPG at that time. Also, because of the way this game has been described, and because of the way that people are telling me that it is, alright, basically, here's the deal, alright? I feel like it's not a game that fits the format of my streams. If people are saying that a minimum playthrough of this game is 60 to 80 hours long, if not longer, how on the fuck do you think that fits into my streams? I'm a variety streamer. I don't just play one game endlessly. Nor do I think that if I played Baldur's Gate 3 endlessly, that it would work. I think people would get bored. I would get bored. The whole point is to play a variety, and that way everything always feels fresh, right? But I also got to play games that keep moving. That way, you don't feel like when you play a game 3 times a week, you've barely made a snail's pace of progress. You want to feel like you had something significant happen, right? If I play RoboCop for 3 hours today, hopefully we get some story developments, we get some side missions, some fun stuff happens. Not, oh, I moved one bookcase, right, in 3 hours. Well, that could be Baldur's Gate 3 because from what I'm being explained about the game, it is a slow-paced game with tons of narrative, which is great. Except people want progress. They don't want to sit here for hours on end and nothing happens, right? Now again, I'm not trying to set the game up for failure. I'm a realist, all right? I'm telling you, I already figured from everything you guys have told me about this game, I don't think it would work for my streams. But I'm listening to your feedback. You want it. It won Game of the Year, all right? And basically it's been donated now. So every factor has lined up. I have no excuse to not play it. I'm going to play it. All right? In fact, I actually think at this point, there's been so much demand. There's been so much stuff that people have asked for. I'll give it a shot. All right? I'm a fair guy. When so many people yell at me about it, right? I'll do it. So we're starting Monday. And I'm going to approach it with an open mind like any other game. Literally, I will not be a dick about it. I'm not going to be, a negative asshole to the game. I'm going to approach it like an open RPG. And I think people say character creation is pretty cool. We'll jump in. We'll see how the plots are. By the way, and here's the really cool part about it. I know nothing about this game. I've never played a Baldur's Gate game before. So I don't know the plot, okay, at all. I've gotten zero spoilers about it because I don't understand. I never played one. I don't know. How could you spoil me? You know what I'm saying? So this is 100% cold turkey for me to jump into this game. All right? So let's find out how it's going to go. Now, yes, I will be very honest with you up front. If I play this game within 2 to 3 streams, Everything is falling off. People aren't showing up. People are disengaging, not even talking about the game. They're just talking about other shit. They're saying it's boring in the chat. Engagement's dead. Support is dead. No one cares about the game. No, I'm not going to fucking play this game for 100 hours. No. Absolutely not. The thing is, if it's good, if I'm hooked on it, and I really like it, and you guys are liking it, and we're all engaged, and we're having a good time, and it ends up being a great stream, I am happy to play this. But I want that atmosphere. I don't want, oh, everyone wanted it, but it was a trick because it's a fucking game that everyone knows won't work for streams. Then I'm not playing it. Fuck off. You know, it's that simple because I already feel like it won't work for my format. I've told you that already. I've predicted that. But maybe, you know what? I would like to be proven wrong. I would love to be proven wrong. Here's the thing. I love RPGs. Did you notice? I grew up playing RPGs. It's one of my favorite genres of game. The problem is RPGs are very hard to retain attention. They just are. They're hard to retain an audience, okay? And by the way, I already saw, are you ready for this? I already saw people in chat already setting the stage for failure. You ready? Oh, well, if he plays the game now and it doesn't do well, you can't blame the game because it's 4 months later. Bullshit. It's an RPG. I can play whenever the fuck I want. I didn't play every Elder Scrolls game the day it came out. Oblivion, how many years late did I play that? What the fuck are you talking about? No, if it's such a good RPG, it should be good whenever I play it. No excuses that because it's 4 months later, oh, now people won't watch it. Fuck you. Stop trying to already make excuses for why the game will not work on my streams because you're afraid it's not going to and then you're going to look like an asshole. So no, I'm not taking those excuses. Those excuses are invalid. If the game is good, it's good forever. Let's see if it's good starting on Monday. It's that simple. No more bullshit. I've had enough of the bullshit. I really have. All right. So I am excited. I really am excited to start this on Monday. And you know what? I will say this. I'm always someone who is willing to admit when I'm actually wrong. If yesterday I had said there's no chance in hell Baldur's Gate 3 is going to win Game of the Year and then it won, I would say I was completely wrong. No, I said that ages ago before all the qualifying things happened to make it look like it was going to win. And I was asked recently, would it win? And I said, yeah, it's either Baldur's Gate or Zelda. Those are the two games that are going to win Game of the Year, one or the other, right? So, no, you don't get to say it. No gotcha moments on me. I see you said it wasn't going to win. Yeah, that was like 6-7 months ago. Shut up. You're an idiot. Okay? In this case, I would be willing to say, hey, if it works for my streams, if it's a great game, I will be happy. Do you understand? I will actually be happy to be proven wrong. I would be. I would love to have a great game in my streams. Now, I want you to understand something. We are opening a big can of worms with this, and here's why we're opening a big can of worms. In January, there's two big RPGs. Persona 3 Remake and Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, both of which are ginormous, both of which are highly anticipated, both of which everyone wants to see. How the fuck do I keep playing Baldur's Gate 3 with those games? I can't. That's the answer. I can't. There's no way that I can juggle 17 RPGs at once. You understand that, right? So, I don't know what to say about that. Again, this game is so lengthy with my variety schedule. This is also kind of setting myself up for disaster. I don't see how I could be playing that many games at once, right? It's absolutely ridiculous. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. If we play it and it's great, right? And now all of a sudden, it's like now we have to make a decision. Well, crap, what games am I skipping? What games am I playing? And I think this is going to come more into play because on the Christmas Marathon, December 23rd, which is coming up, by the way, it's about 2 weeks from tomorrow, right? That's when we're going to go through the game schedule for 2024. We're going to look week by week what games are coming out, and we're going to determine which ones are interesting that you want to see me play. And once we figure this out, you know, we're going to have to make tough decisions. This is going to be a tough one. I'm going to have to drink. I'm going to have to start drinking eggnog and whiskey to make these tough decisions about the schedule because I love these games. It's going to be sad to say I just can't play them all because, you know, I'm one man. You know, what are we going to do? So it's going to be a rough one, you know. We'll have to talk about this and figure this out together, all right? No, I actually loved Persona 3 until the final dungeon. The final dungeon's the only part of Persona 3 that's complete bullshit. The game is incredibly good up to that point, and then the ending is terrible. It's like, why the fuck did they make it like that? It's just annoying as shit. Okay. All right, so that's what we're doing. Starting Monday, it's Baldur's Gate 3 premiering. You know what I'm saying? We got a holiday event coming up for the Christmas weekend. That's going to be fun and special, but that's it. Please don't start asking for other random games out of nowhere now. There's no time. Baldur's Gate 3 is going to be incredibly time-consuming because of the kind of game it is, so that's what it's going to have to be. All right? So I'm willing to bite the bullet on this one. I'm giving it a shot because it's like all circumstances have come together, right? So the game is on every console. The game has been reviewed well everywhere. The game just won Game of the Year. You guys keep asking for it, and someone donated it. If I didn't play this game at this point, I would be a complete asshole, right? But that doesn't mean that I'm going to love it, nor am I obligated to love it and keep playing it. So let's see how it goes starting on Monday, okay? Is that fair enough? I hope so. I hope that's fair. I hope you guys, you know, I'm listening to you. Remember, old Phil, this never would have happened. Old Phil would have told you guys, I'm not playing this game, fuck this game. You know what I mean? But I've been listening. I'm like, all right, if everyone, literally, everything is pointing towards playing this goddamn game, then I'm going to play it. Okay? So, let's see. Let's see how it goes starting on Monday. So mark your calendars, set your clocks, get out your smartphones, put on your pop-ups, get your little fucking smart watches, program it into there, write it on your forehead backwards so when you look in the mirror it reflects. It says Monday, Baldur's Gate on DSP Gaming. Be here. Because the way you guys hype this goddamn game, there better be 1,000 viewers on that stream. Seriously, as much as you guys asked for this game, this better be like the hottest stream of the year, right? Seriously, I mean it too. Everyone better fucking be here. Everyone. And your mother. Tell your mother to be on watching that stream. Tell your family to be on. Tell your dog to buy an iPad and be on that fucking stream. You work Mondays? Bud Walton says he works Mondays. You're taking Monday off. For God's sakes, you're taking that fucking day off and you're going to be here on this stream. All of a sudden, you've come down with the crippling illness. You can't make it. You got to be here. You understand me? Oh, my God. Now, guys, again, don't take it so seriously. I'm a joker. You know I'm messing around with you. Please tell me you know I'm messing around with you. Because you know the idiots will quote this out of context. And there's nothing I can do about that. They'll do whatever they want. But I'm not going to change my personality because of those idiots. I'm joking. This is all a joke. It's meant to be silly. I hope you understand. But I really appreciate that you guys gave me the feedback you gave me this year. I do. Because without your feedback, I wouldn't know what to do. And I'm willing to give it a shot. I am. Now is the time. If we're going to do it, now would be the time. We finally finished all the major releases of the year, right? They're all wrapped up. Now it's the end of the year. We have some time between now and basically like maybe the second week of January to play stuff like this. So now's the perfect time to give it a shot. Now, the problem is if the game's so long, there's no way we're going to finish it, right? But at least we'll get a chunk into it. And then we can go back to it later. Whatever we want to do, we can make that judgment later. But I'm happy that you guys were understanding this year to understand I couldn't just drop everything that was going on for Baldur's Gate 3 because they decided to drop a console port of it in like the mid-September. It was like, what am I supposed to do, right? So I'm happy. Thank you for understanding, and now we're going to give it a shot. What I'd like to do, because we're going to do shout-outs, but we got to remember, I do shout-outs at the end of the stream. I'd like to open up the stream, all right, to questions about the Game Awards. You guys are just going to be able to ask me questions about whatever you want, and I'll answer them. All right? But before we get there, a couple quick reminders. Number one, please nominate games for the Christmas event, which is December 23rd. Baldur's Gate 3 is already being played. So everyone who nominated Baldur's Gate 3, thanks, but it's already being played. Now we need other games for the Christmas event. So please nominate other video games to be played for the Christmas Marathon, which is Saturday, December 23rd. You can do that by typing !Christmas into the chat right now, or by going to the members-only thread that's available on the main channel page of this channel. If you are a channel member, please post up your nominations. I need more of those. Basically, it's going to go for like another week and a half, and then I'm going to do a poll to determine the winners that'll be played, okay? So that's number one. Number two, please keep nominating your favorite playthroughs of the year in the Best of 2023 thread. You can access that by typing !Best of 2023, okay? And then at the end of the year, I'm going to tally up the most nominated games, and that's going to be a part of my year-end series, all right? Last thing I'll say, please support the streams. As you can see, sadly, we had a dip in members. 40 members lost during my one day off. We were at 620 and then a big dip. It sucks because we had great momentum. We're heading, you know, higher and higher. Please consider becoming a member or gifting a membership today. And as you know, every stream I try to hit the tier 1 tips goal. If we can exceed that today, great. But thank you in advance for any contributions on the stream. All right. Amon did a super chat. Why do you shout, swear, and insult viewers that disagree with you? I don't. I'm addressing directly people who are ridiculous or unfair or assholes. That's who I address with this nonsense. So if you actually take it that way, you should maybe look at yourself like, why are you thinking I'm talking to you? Were you acting like that? Were you acting unfairly and unreasonably and were you foaming at the mouth today to come to my stream to say, I can't wait to call out Phil on being wrong because Baldur's Gate 3 won Game of the Year? If you were, you are an asshole. You understand that? Because I didn't say it was going to be Game of the Year the last several months. Excuse me, I didn't say it wasn't going to be Game of the Year the last several months. I said it's either that or Zelda. But if you're foaming at the mouth to prove me wrong, you're an asshole. Sorry, you are. Can't help you there.
I got the drip going. 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 It's like a faucet that's dripping. You can't make it stop. So what do you want me to do? Have a mute button that every second I'm tapping the mute button just in case I'm gonna have to clear? Like, this is what I mean. These dumb kids. This is what it is. It's dumb kids.